Hi everyone, it's the EnglishSimmer here, and welcome back to a Sunday Funday video. This is kind of the series where I either do a chatty vlog or I do something in the game that's kind of bizarre and just talk to you guys on a Sunday. And today you probably know what this is going to be about because of the title. We are going to be talking about queer representation, and I've tried to sit down, I've tried to record this video. I got like 25 minutes into it and it just wasn't cohesive and I just felt like I was repeating myself, and this is a really hard video to make. Like, I have been nervous. I've been thinking about this for like the past week. I have like a pit in my stomach right now. I have not felt nerves like this since probably my first year on YouTube. But I want to talk about a topic that kind of came up on my last part of the Runaway Teen Challenge. And I'm not doing this video to call anyone out. I will be checking comments. If some of you leave from this video to go comment on a specific thing that kind of was the catalyst for this, then I will be checking those comments. I will be deleting comments. If you are hateful towards the people who left comments such as this, I will not stand for that and your comments will be deleted, because I don't want this to be like a hate attack on anyone who disagrees with me, because that's not what this video is about. This video is about me kind of giving my perspective, and some people have said that I can get defensive online, which is true. I know this about myself. I tend to reply to negative or comments that I don't personally agree with a lot more than like, oh, I love this video, which I know people are probably like, Molly, just focus on the positivity. But it's because I am very strong-minded, I'm very stubborn. Like, that's a negative character trait, but it's what I am. And I don't want it to seem as if it's stubbornness, but I know truly that that's what it is, and that's just me, and I need to work on that. But yeah, the whole thing that set this off was on my Runaway Teen Challenge. I actually had Poppy kind of yeah, this was a spur of the moment thing, but I had Poppy, she like, why is this hard for me to say? I say this all the time. Poppy not even entered a relationship, but had a little bit of a flirtationship with her friend who was also a female. And a lot of people were shipping her and Patchy, and that relationship didn't happen, because the game kind of threw this little like bone to me and was like, hey, here's a great opportunity. And people had been shipping Poppy and Autumn. Like, if you go back and read the comments, people had been shipping them in the past, and the game kind of took me by surprise and was like, here's a nice tasty little thing for you to explore. And I did, and it went the way that it did, and that's just the way it happened. And some people commented, and I'm paraphrasing here, but people said that it was kind of predictable for my channel because I have a lot of queer content on my channel, and like, it wasn't interesting and it wasn't an entertaining storyline because people probably knew that it was gonna turn out queer because it's me and I'm gay as fuck. So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. I tweeted about it, it started a whole discussion on Twitter, and I want to talk about some of the main points that came from this. And I'm probably gonna still be mumbling, I'm probably still gonna be like ranting on, because we all know I love the sound of my voice too much. But I kind of want to cover the main topics, really. The first one being the kind of predictability of it and the non-entertaining storyline, because you guys could tell that it was gonna go that way because all of my characters are queer in some way. And with that, I mean, I don't know how it was predictable, because I personally, like, as the content creator, I was shipping Patchy and Poppy. Like, I was genuinely gonna have them have like a nice little moment in a park, and then the game kind of spurred this random notification on me and was like, hey, your best friend's just called you and she says she wants to have a heart-to-heart, and she's been making like lovey eyes at you all throughout this freaking series and people have pointed that out before. And then it was singles night at the bar and the game just lined it up so perfectly that I was like, this is kind of weird. Like, this is like the game telling me that I should at least see where this romance could maybe go. So I played it out that way, and I don't know how it was predictable in the sense that even I didn't predict that. Like, that was full on the game throwing me a bone and seeing if I would latch onto it. I think what would have been more predictable in that sense is if Patchy and Poppy had just madly fallen in love with each other that night and everything was like a happy ever after. Because that's what I was planning on doing. So I get that you might think it's predictable from like a perspective of I've been doing a lot of queer representation on my channel recently, but honestly, I can 110% say that was not the storyline that I was gonna go with in that episode. So predictability is kind of shot out the window at that point. I'm not like spilling the tea, I'm just so thirsty because I've tried to record this video like 3 times and it's just not been working out. And then the next point was kind of this like boring point and how it's not entertaining from a viewer standpoint, which obviously if you guys are sorting out my videos, I do want you to be entertained, and that is definitely something that I'm trying to work on. Like, don't get me wrong, I do feel as if my storylines have gone a bit stale recently. Not stale so much, but like I don't want to do the same old like, oh, here's a love triangle, like who's she gonna pick, or like I don't want to go for the same kind of usual storylines that bring drama to something. So they haven't been stale, but in a sense I don't want to do like the same old cliches of storytelling. I kind of want to come up with like my own sort of storytelling, so I am working on that for sure. But to say something is boring because I've been doing a lot of it on my channel recently, like I've been doing a lot of queer representation on my channel. Am I saying that right? Representation? Yeah. Yeah, I think I am. I've said it so many times it doesn't even sound like a real word anymore. But I've been doing a lot of that on my channel because I think for me personally, my like pivotal moment was coming out, not only to myself but to other people, and also entering a same-sex relationship. And so selfishly, I wanted to portray that in my stories because I'm very lucky, I'm very happy, I'm in a very happy relationship, and I think you tend to play The Sims in a way that sways how you right now as a person are feeling. And so I wanted to do that representation not only for myself and to see like these relationships can be very positive and very happy, and I wasn't really seeing it in much of the content out there. And then that kind of goes on to the bigger thing of if there's people struggling who want to look up like this representation, then they know where to find me. They know that my channel is a safe place. They know that I myself am bisexual. They know that I am part of the LGBT community and I am a strong defender of the LGBT community. And I kind of want my channel to be like that comfort blanket. So yes, a lot of my content is queer and deals with queer storylines, and that's not gonna stop. Like, I'm never gonna quit that because it's something that I feel is truly important for me to put out into the world, and if I can make one person feel represented or more positive about themselves or help them see that they have a happy future ahead of them if they are in a dark place right now, I have done exactly what I set out to do. And kind of on that point, I had a couple of people, once I opened this like discussion up to Twitter, I had a few people like say to me, well, I feel as if maybe straight people, and I hate how I have to make the distinction between like LGBT and straight people and straight relationships and LGBT relationships, because at the end of the day they're all freaking relationships, but people who are not part of the LGBT plus community might find my content a little bit stale because they don't see themselves being represented, which honestly is never gonna happen. I'm obviously still gonna have straight couples, I'm still gonna have like straight marriages and stuff, but I do want more queer content available, like on all medias. And that's not me trying to take away from anything that is representing heterosexuals at all. Like, I think I can speak for the majority of the LGBT plus community. I keep tripping over my words in saying that we don't want more content that's more diverse to take away from you guys. Like, that is just silly. But for all those years of me growing up, and I never felt like I was being represented in a good way. And don't get me wrong, like 2018, I feel 2017 and 18 have been like milestone years for representation, and I feel like it's finally entering general media, which is great, like films and TV shows, and it's positive representation. Like, you guys might not know this, and this all comes from perspective because I probably didn't pay attention to any of this stuff before I came out personally, or I was involved in the community in any way. But there's a lot of shitty representation out there for LGBT people. Like, there's a whole trope which is called bury your gays, which actually, like, started this movement of we need better representation for the people that we love and the relationships that we are in, because writers seem to think that an LGBT storyline had to have some form of heartbreak, or it had to be super angsty, or someone had to be straight and then found out like, oh no, like I slept with a man and I didn't enjoy that, so I'm no longer that way inclined. And also with the 100 and Clexa, that was kind of the bury your gays trope, in which Lexa got ripped away from the woman that she loved, and that was to kind of make the rest of the audience feel sorry for this relationship. And it was like, oh, like we had it for a season, we had the really good representation that we wanted, and then it was just tore away from us for the fact that the writers felt as if they needed sympathy somehow for this couple. And it was just like, oh, you were doing so good, and there's so much queerbait out there. There's a lot of stuff that kind of make you feel like you're gonna be represented, and then they kind of just like snatch it away from you at the last like minute, and we're like, joke's on you. So I want my channel to be that safe space. I want someone who is in the community to come to my channel and feel as if they do have that positive representation. So am I probably gonna have queer storylines in all of my Let's Plays from moving on? Yes. And I did that before I came out. Like, I have many a queer storyline in Let's Plays before I was ever even comfortable in my sexuality. But I feel like since coming out and becoming more comfortable in it, I feel more confident to put those stories out there into the world. And with this crazy thing of YouTube nowadays, and also just how big media is in general, like, people are constantly uploading to this site. So I don't think uploading a Sims video with a queer relationship is taking away from any other community or anything like that. Someone said you can't add something without taking away something. But if I wasn't adding those storylines and that diversity, I probably wouldn't be adding anything, because I wouldn't be inspired, and I wouldn't create the storylines that I create, and I wouldn't be loving my characters as much as I do, because they are multifaceted, and I really love that about the characters that I've now started to create. So I feel like my channel's way more important than it used to be, and I'm having so much more fun creating the content that I actually love and enjoy playing, rather than just like trying to make it as entertaining as possible. So yeah, I just feel like me adding those storylines isn't taking away from any other simmer, and I feel like a lot of this comes down to perspective and kind of the goggles that you see these issues through. Like I've said, since coming out, I've learned way more about the community and diversity and representation as a whole. Like not even for the queer community, but for other minorities as well. And with that perspective, I kind of want to discuss, like, would this be happening? Would these kind of conversations, would these same kind of comments be appearing on a channel, like take a Sims channel for example, where mostly the relationships were like heteronormative relationships. You have a man, you have a woman, they fall in love, they get married, they have 2.5 kids and a dog. Like, would someone comment on that channel and be like, oh, I feel as if your storylines are getting a little bit boring because I could call that they were gonna get married to one another? And sure, I reckon it could happen, but I don't think it would happen quite as much or as quickly as it happened on that Runaway Teen Challenge video. I just, personally, I don't think it would, and that's why I'm like opening this up to you guys. Like, I want to hear your perspectives on this, and I promise I'm gonna try not to be defensive in the comments. Like, if I disagree with you, then I disagree with you, and that's fine. If you disagree with me and you disagree with my content, that's fine. There's plenty of other content out there for you guys to consume. And that's kind of another point. It leads me on to another point of, I've been doing YouTube for 5 years now. In December, it will be 5 years since I started my channel. And so, with me growing so much as a person, I've had a lot of personal growth since starting my channel. I started when I was 19, I was in university, I was freaking sexually confused. I was a mess. I was a nervous wreck, and I think you guys know that ever since my coming out and also like moving back home, I have become way more confident and way more comfortable in myself. And with that, my content's kind of grown and I've taken a different direction with it. And I think that's because, like I said, I'm telling the stories that I want to tell and the stories that I feel are important, and growth isn't really the main thing for me. I mean, growth has never really been a big pushing drive for me to upload to YouTube. But recently, like, I'm sure you guys have noticed, my growth has been stalled, but I don't even really mind about, like, the growth or how many subscribers I'm gaining in a month anymore, because as long as the people who are watching my content enjoy my content, that's the biggest thing that I could do. And if I feel like I'm being my true self and telling the stories that I want to tell, then I am putting out some good into the world. And that's kind of like just where I am in my own personal journey. Like, growth is great. Like, don't get me wrong, if this blows up, if 12 people watch this, then thank you. If this so happens to blow up and, like, I get growth on my channel, then hooray! Like, that's a good thing. Like, obviously I'll be happy with that. But growth isn't a pushing force for me uploading. My pushing force is that I feel like I'm putting out some good into the world, and I'm putting out something. Even if it changes one person's perspective, if it changes one person, if it saves one person, I have done that. And that's an incredible thing for me, because I'm a girl sat in my room playing The Sims. Like, that's insane. So yeah, I feel like I've grown a lot since starting my channel, and that's kind of reflected in the content that I am currently putting out. But also on that, like, I still do want to create content that you guys do enjoy. So I'm always going to push for diversity. I'm always going to push for different kinds of Sims with different kinds of backgrounds. Even with uploading like the first couple of parts of my Get Famous Let's Play, I've had some really positive feedback and comments about the way that Nora looks, and a lot of you were like, oh, I was really scared that content creators were just gonna go for like your stereotypical model-sized sim for all of these careers that were introduced with Get Famous. And I've had such a positive response just from like changing up the body shape of a sim. Like, that is so sweet, and I'm so glad that you guys feel that positivity, and that's the way I always want my channel to be. I want to feel like everyone's included. So if you are feeling like I'm doing too many queer stories, I don't apologize for that, but I'm sorry that you aren't enjoying my content as much as you used to because of the choices that I'm making. But also, on that hand, not every story that I'm gonna tell from this point forward is going to be queer. It's just that there's gonna be a lot of that influence of my personal choices and my personal life in the content that I create, and probably there'll be like at least one storyline in every Let's Play from this point forward that is a LGBT plus relationship or something of that nature. So I just wanted to like kind of point that out there to you guys. And I was also getting a couple of like replies saying like this isn't realistic, like how can every sim be gay? Like that's just silly. Like no one knows that many gay people, which again is all about perspective. Yes, the LGBT community is still a minority. Don't get me wrong, I know that. I know that heteronormative has the word normative in it for a reason, and I am A-okay with that. I don't want to take representation away from you guys. You know that. If you know me as a person, you know that. I just feel as if it's so important to also bring to light any other person who doesn't feel like they fit into that ideal, I guess. I use ideal very loosely there because it's not an ideal. Like, everyone is made the way that they are. Like, nothing is ideal in this world. And you also have to keep in mind that, one, The Sims is a game that you can play any way you want to. If you don't like the content that I'm producing, you can play the game in any way you see fit. And if that stops you from watching my videos, then hey, if I'm not producing the content that you like, that's okay. You can walk away, and I'm not stopping anyone from walking away from my channel. But it would be cool if you guys stuck around for the stories that I do want to tell and the stories that I have to tell, because I think you guys will find enjoyment somewhere in those stories. But to say that it's unrealistic to have this many queer characters on my channel is kind of hurtful as a community. It hurts me as a bisexual woman because we exist. We aren't a rarity. We are a minority, but we are not a rarity. You may not know queer people in your everyday life, but that's not to say that we don't exist. We very much do, and with the world becoming more and more progressive, more and more people are feeling more comfortable and are coming out and telling their stories and are dying to see themselves represented in a positive light. So to say that it's unrealistic, I think is very, very unfair. You also have to keep in mind that all of my Let's Plays and all of my stories exist in their own kind of universe. Sometimes I'll like mix and mash and I'll like throw in an old family here or there, but most of the time, they all exist in their own separate universe. So I'm not saying, hey, everyone in Willow Creek, I didn't mean to say Willow Creek. Everyone in Willow Creek is gay. Like, the whole town's not gay. Like, it's not an infection. But you have to think about how many years queer children, and I say children, but really like queer people of any age, have sat and watched the same man and woman fall in love and never felt like they were normal and never felt like their feelings that they had, like they must have felt like the only person on earth because they couldn't see themselves anywhere. I think you just have to keep in mind that people have felt that way their whole lives. And because I'm being a little louder and I'm being a little gayer than the regular normality of maybe a Sims channel should be, I'm not trying to say that everyone in the world is gonna turn gay. Like, it's just an idea that you are just running away with, that those words have never come from my mouth unless they get edited out of this video out of context. But yeah, I've never said those words and I don't believe them to be true. But I do believe that we can all put something forward in the world that at least shows a little bit of representation. And that's pretty much where I'm gonna round up this video, not this story, because my camera is flashing at me. I've been talking for like 2 hours now. I was nervous as hell to record this, and I hope it made some sense, and I hope it wasn't just higgledy-piggledy hogwash falling out of my mouth, because we all know that I like to word vomit. But I want to say thank you for taking your time out of your day to watch this video. I know it's not usually the content that I create, but I think it was a discussion that I wanted to have, and I honestly have been thinking about recording this video for like a week now, so I'm glad I can just get it off my chest. But give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed, I guess. I guess I should do my usual outro, even though this was not the usual video. I just want to say a really big thank you to watching. If you support my content, queer or not queer, then I love you guys so much, and I hope you can see how much these stories mean to me that I'm putting out into the world, and I hope this video just clears up my side of this debate a little bit. But thank you all so much for tuning in, and I guess I will speak to you all in my next video, which will be uploaded tomorrow. I love you guys, and I will speak to you then. Bye everyone!